Hey, what's up, y'all? This is William, the permaculture consultant, and right now we are in the garden and we're going to be testing a method that I get asked about more commonly than anything else when it comes to gardening, and that is electroculture. Now, I intended on doing this video a while back, but as I started researching electroculture, I realized like there's so many different methods. Nobody is claiming that one method is the correct way. Like it's a pain in the butt, like finding out which method is actually right and which method is false. There's more solid information on the gender of Michelle Obama than there is on whether or not electroculture actually works. So we're going to be testing it ourselves. We're going to be using the front two sweet potato beds that I just cleared out. They're completely blank slates. I just got done reshaping them and then also broad forking them. We're going to make a couple of the electroculture antennas, and then we're going to install it in one bed but not in the other. Now we're going to plant both beds identical, so that way we can get like a kind of a gauge on whether or not electroculture helps or works. Now, some of you that are new to this are probably wondering like, hey, what is electroculture? And honestly, I can't even tell you. I don't even really understand what electroculture is. To the best of my understanding, like some people say it's the ether, like being collected by this wire antenna. Some people say it's like, hey, it's basically just grounding for your plants. I don't know. But some people seem to have really good results from doing this. So what we're going to be doing is making a couple of different electroculture antennas. We're going to see if any of them work and which design, I guess, works best. So let's get started. The first one that seems to be the most common is the one that has just the wire by itself. Now I have this 10 gauge, number 6 wire. It's insulated right now, and it is also stranded. And we're gonna use this for our first antenna. I got all this wire for free from my homeboy JD. Shout out to JD. Whenever he starts his YouTube channel, we'll be sure to go ahead and give him a good, nice, solid shout out. Wicked smart dude, has like a photographic memory. It's insane having a conversation with him because you'll bring one thing up and he'll immediately like remember it, especially whenever it comes to scripture. But let's not get distracted. The first thing I'm gonna do is cut off a section, and this is probably the easiest and most common the electroculture antenna that I've seen. We're going to cut off basically a section that's going to be, let's say, is that 3 feet maybe? 2.5 feet, about the length of my arm. We're going to go ahead and cut this off. And I will say that this form of antenna will probably be easier to make if you have solid core wire as opposed to this stranded wire. But this stranded wire, apparently, from what I've seen and the mixed reviews of electroculture that I've seen, this stranded wire apparently has better results. So next thing we're going to do is strip it. Now, the easiest way that I know of to strip this wire is just to take your knife, dig a little bit below the insulation, and then pull the wire back to you. You can use wire strippers if you want to. I don't have any on me at the moment, and I don't think wire strippers work nearly as well whenever you're using this length of wire. They work well if you're trying to use if you're just trying to strip some like 12 gauge Romex for your outlet. That's when they work, but not for this number 6 stranded wire. Now there's one guy on YouTube, I can't remember who it is, but he says it works best if you actually use stranded wire. And I've seen a few people concur with that using stranded wire is the best, and that the correct orientation of your wire, if you are looking down at it from below, or from above, I'm sorry, if you're looking down at it from above, is that everything should rotate. If you're in the northern hemisphere, everything should rotate clockwise. Now the strand on this is rotating clockwise. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is the right way up. If I do it this way, then everything is rotating, well, still clockwise. All right, so we're good to go on that. Now from here, I've seen people take their needle nose pliers and then just kind of roll the top end on top of itself, over itself, and create like this little, I don't know, like this, it looks like a flat circle up on the top. I'm gonna go ahead and roll this, and we're gonna go ahead and see how it goes. One of the issues that I do see, or I do foresee happening, is getting this to stick in the ground. This is where I think some of the other methods are going to work better in my application of electroculture. There we go. There is the first electroculture antenna. This part goes into the ground. this part stays above the ground. Also, I just decided I'm gonna go ahead and do like a little playlist on this electroculture, and we're gonna keep track of it. These are the two beds we're gonna be using. This one right here is at the very front of the garden. This is gonna be the electroculture bed, and then this one right here is going to be just the traditional agriculture bed. So yeah, this first one we'll plant right next to this dead rosemary, and I'm gonna see if it just will push into the ground. Okay, it's actually doing a little bit better than I was expecting. But there we go. There is our first electroculture antenna. And it's I don't know, maybe a third into the ground. And apparently the spacing on these, like, they don't cover much ground. Like, this antenna apparently needs to be as close to the plant roots as possible for it to actually be effective. So as far as like efficiency goes, getting this whole bed planted, especially if you're going to do the whole garden with electroculture, I don't know how efficient that is. You might be better off just building your soil food web. In fact, one of the channels that I watched on this stuff, which was a Garden Like a Viking, he seems like a pretty cool guy. I'd love to meet him. He even kind of said as much as well. Like, he did the electroculture, but I think he only did one type of antenna. And he basically said, like, hey, the plants that are doing best are the ones that have the most complete soil food web. So check him out also. He's a pretty cool guy. Okay, so now this next method, and we'll use about the same length of wire, which is about my arm's length, which I don't know. I'm 6'1". If I do this, apparently that's the equivalent of 6'1". So if I take my torso out of it and just measure from like fingertip to shoulder, that should be about 2.5, 2 3/4 feet. We're gonna do a method that apparently maximizes the amount of like ether that's caught in the air. Now, I'm not saying ether with like quotations because I don't necessarily believe that it exists. I just don't know. That's a whole separate discussion in and of itself. This will be my bottom end, and then this will be my top end. And with this top end, I'm basically going to, and this only works really with, I think, stranded wire from what I've seen. I'm going to basically unravel these strands, and I'm going to create what's like almost like a funnel up here at the top. So that way, from my understanding, you're capturing the most amount of ether, and it's gonna like funnel it down into your plant. Now, this could be a bunch of hogwash, this could be a bunch of garbage. It also might not be as well. From what I've seen in the photos, it didn't look like it was straight up in the air. None of the spikes were just sticking straight up out of the air. They were kind of coming out flat like that and catching, you know, whatever it is. So there we go. That's what it looks like. And we're gonna go ahead and install this just a few feet away from the one that we just installed. Now, on the end of this, because I don't want this to, I'm gonna kind of crimp the end of this just to try to limit how much this unravels whenever I put it in the ground. Apparently, electroculture is supposed to like boost basically growth and production in your garden. I don't know if there's really any claims as far as like the soil health of your garden, but we're gonna see. So this antenna is right here. It's near the end of the garden, next to the dead rosemary. It's near the end of the garden. We're gonna go maybe a foot this way and put this antenna in. Just like this. Try to bend it a little bit so it stands up a little straight. Put some soil in around it so it stands upright. So there we go. We got one right here and we got another one right there. All right, so another one that I've seen a lot of was basically attaching it to a stake and then pounding the stake into the ground and using the wire. Basically, the wire wraps around the stake and then sticks up into the air a little bit. So I have this length of dried mimosa. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen one end. Now, believe it or not, I brought all my carving stuff to the house, so I don't have any of that with me. I'm stuck with just using this knife for, actually, no, I do have an axe. Hold on. Here we go. Just keep one in the truck with me. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go sharpen this end. All right, there we go. Now we have a sharpened tip. Now I'm also going to drill a hole into the bottom of this sharpened tip. So that way, one thing that I did see that didn't make any sense was that a lot of people wrapped it around their wooden spike, but like as they pounded it into the earth, as they pounded this end into the earth, the wire would basically just ride up because the earth was, you know, giving resistance and pushing the wire up the stake. So one thing to get around that is I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in through the bottom of this stake. So that way it keeps the wire down in there and I'm ensuring contact with the earth. I don't even know if that's an important thing. I don't even know if it needs that much contact with the earth. I don't know if it's all getting all of its benefits from above or if it's basically just grounding for your plants. And then they also said on this particular method that it's okay if you leave the part that comes in contact with the wood in the insulation. And then just leaving like the top part and then the bottom part, leaving that exposed so it can capture ether or electromagnetism or just whatever, and can funnel it down into the ground. So what I'm gonna do is first run this in through my end piece here. There we go. So it's gonna go in there like this. And then if I'm looking at it from above, it needs to wind clockwise. So from here, I'm just gonna twist it up this pole. And I think I might drill another hole and put the wire through it up here at the top just to keep everything in place. So if I'm looking down it, everything rotates clockwise. So that's apparently good. And then I'm gonna cut off a length here at the end. Got the top part in the ground. That part I'm gonna try to keep just solid, like solid wire here. And then this top part, I'm going to, should we do the spiral or the web? I'm gonna go ahead and run this as a spiral again. There we go. I feel like a gardening wizard. And here's my staff. Radagast ain't got nothing on me. You thought he was the green wizard. Nope. That's for all the Lord of the Rings nerds out there. Alrighty, so I'm basically gonna just go like another foot and a half, and I'm going to start move my little antenna out of the way, and then I'm gonna pound this stake into the ground. There we go, and then raise that little antenna back up. And there we go, we got 1, 2, 3. 3 different electroculture antennas. All right, so now that you've seen how I'm making these electroculture antennas, I'm gonna go ahead and use the rest of these stakes, make a whole batch of them, and then I'll put them in the garden and then we'll review over that. Sound good? Alrighty, so we got all of the antennas built. Remember, this bed right here is going to be planted the exact same way as the other bed, but this bed is not gonna get any of those antennas. This bed right here has antennas every couple of feet. So let's go through and do a little tour real quick. So this is the first antenna, it's just bare copper, and that's what it looks like right here. Next one is bare copper again with this little starburst pattern. This one is attached to a stake with a little circle up at the top, a little spiral up at the top. This one is attached to a longer stake. It's completely bare, unlike that one. That one has insulation, and this one has a bigger open spiral up at the top. This one is my own little creation right here. It's on a longer stake, has this little sun ray pattern up at the top, and then at the bottom, the wire actually splits out, and this one goes out this way for several feet, and then this one goes out that way for several feet. And now this is an attempt to see if I can expand how effective this this electroculture system is, because what I've seen online so far is that it's very, very spot specific. Like your electron or your antenna has to be right by your plant. So this is more of a way to see if I can extend the effectiveness of it. And then about a foot away from where that one ends, this one has 3 antennas, same exact wire, just splits up here at the top and then goes off right here, and then right here. We're gonna see if that's effective at all. This was inspired by a John Levy video with the free energy and all the old churches and the way they were designed. So that's where that kind of thought was going. This one is attached to a stake with a bigger starburst up here at the top. This one is attached to a stake with a open, and it's completely bare. So is that one. Open spiral up at the top. This one has 2 little antennas coming out of the top, completely bare, no stake. This one is completely insulated, very, very small starburst up at the top, and very, very small bare copper at the bottom as well. This one, there's no spiral, it's just attached to a stake, and then not even spiraled up, it's just a straight up and down antenna, looks the same way underneath the ground. This one, just to add a little pizzazz, has a W for William. That's me, by the way. And we're just, yeah, back into the ground. And then this one is just bare copper with a funnel almost spiral up at the top, and it's at the end right here. And now the next step is basically to plant. We'll cover that in the next video, and everything I do with these 2 electroculture beds will be included in this new playlist here. So you can follow along, you can come back, revisit, do whatever you want to. But yeah, what we're gonna be doing next is reestablishing the ground cover. So I'll go get some clover seeds. We're going into fall. It's the end of the summer right now. We do have some like near 100 days coming up. So getting clover might be a little bit hard to establish. I might try to get some buckwheat established and get a cover crop going there. And that'll basically be the first test. As soon as I get a green cover going over the ground, then I'll go ahead and install my fall annual production plants and stuff like that. So yeah, stick around. I want to try this on trees, see if it has any effect on trees. I do also want to try this on pots, like potted like starts and stuff like that. I want to see if it has any effect on that, or if it has to have contact with the earth itself. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you need a consultation, hit up the email. Any permaculture Q&A questions, then leave them down below in the comment section, and we'll see you next time.